Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into a pretty wild topic: are there conspiracies surrounding the sale of animals? We'll be looking at some specific examples, exploring claims of price fixing, illegal breeding practices, and even potential animal cruelty cover-ups. I'll be sharing some research I've done, looking at both sides of the argument, and ultimately, we'll try to figure out if there's any truth to these unsettling allegations. Let's get started. Hey everyone, let's dive into something a little unsettling, but unfortunately, quite plausible: the potential for conspiracies surrounding the sale of animals. We are talking puppies, kittens, even piglets, animals that tug at our heartstrings and often lead to impulsive purchases. Let's start with the preparation for rituals. Now, I'm not talking about cute little puppy blessings here. I'm talking about something far more sinister. Think about the sheer volume of animals sold each year. It's a huge market, ripe for exploitation. Some believe that certain unscrupulous breeders or sellers might engage in practices designed to manipulate buyers into purchasing animals, not necessarily for the animal's well-being, but for other, more nefarious purposes. This could involve anything from using specific breeds known for their docile nature to create a false sense of security, to employing subtle psychological tactics during the sales process. Think carefully about the pressure you might feel when faced with a litter of adorable puppies, all vying for your attention. That's a carefully orchestrated environment, and it's easy to overlook potential red flags. We need to be aware of the possibility that some sellers might be exploiting this emotional vulnerability for profit, or even worse. The potential for ritualistic abuse, while disturbing to even consider, is a reality we can't ignore. The sheer scale of the animal trade makes it incredibly difficult to monitor, leaving room for these practices to flourish in the shadows. Next, let's talk about the seemingly instantaneous sale of puppies and kittens. Have you ever noticed how quickly some litters are adopted? It's almost like they are disappearing before your eyes. While some of this is undoubtedly due to genuine demand, it's also worth considering the possibility of prearranged sales. Perhaps these animals are already earmarked for specific buyers, perhaps for purposes that are far from innocent. The speed of the sale could be a deliberate tactic to avoid scrutiny, to prevent potential investigations into the origins or intended use of the animals. Think about it: a quick sale means less time for potential buyers to ask questions, to investigate the breeder's background, or to notice any inconsistencies. This rapid turnover can be a significant red flag, and we need to be more vigilant in questioning these seemingly effortless transactions. Finally, let's consider the piglets. While not as commonly purchased as puppies or kittens, piglets are still part of this vast animal trade. The same principles apply. The potential for exploitation, for prearranged sales, and even for ritualistic practices exists across the board, regardless of the species. The sheer number of animals involved makes it nearly impossible to track every single transaction, creating a fertile ground for illegal and unethical activities to thrive. We need to be aware of this, and we need to be more proactive in demanding transparency and accountability from those involved in the sale of animals. We need to be the voice for those who can't speak for themselves. Hey everyone, let's dive into something a little unsettling. We are talking about the murky world of animal sales, specifically focusing on poultry and piglets, and the conspiracies, or at least the highly questionable practices, that sometimes surround them. Now, when you think of buying a cute little chick or a tiny piglet, you probably imagine a wholesome farm scene, right? But the reality can be far more complex. There are unfortunately instances where the focus shifts from animal welfare to sheer profit maximization. Think about the sheer scale of industrial poultry farming. We are talking millions of birds, often raised in cramped, unsanitary conditions. The drive to produce as many birds as quickly as possible to meet the demands of fast food chains and supermarkets can lead to shortcuts. These shortcuts can involve the use of substandard feed, inadequate veterinary care, and even the deliberate withholding of information about the bird's health. This isn't necessarily a grand conspiracy orchestrated by a shadowy cabal, but rather a systemic problem driven by profit margins and a lack of robust regulation. The same can be said for piglets. The pressure to produce large litters quickly and cheaply can lead to similar issues: unhealthy mothers, neglected piglets, and a general disregard for animal welfare. We are not talking about isolated incidents here, these are systemic issues within the industry. Think about the sheer number of piglets born each year. We are talking about staggering numbers, and a significant percentage of those piglets will face challenging conditions. And it's not just about the conditions the animals are raised in. There's also the issue of transparency. Are you always getting the full picture when you buy a chick or a piglet? Are you always certain of its health and background? Unfortunately, the answer is often no. There's a lack of traceability in many cases, making it difficult to determine the true origins and history of the animal. This lack of transparency creates an environment where unethical practices can thrive. Now, here's the thing. The solution to this problem isn't some complex, multifaceted plan. It's actually remarkably simple. Increased regulation and stricter enforcement of existing animal welfare laws are paramount. We need more rigorous inspections of farms and breeding facilities, coupled with harsher penalties for those who violate these laws. Consumers also have a vital role to play. By demanding transparency and supporting farms and breeders with demonstrably high ethical standards, we can create a market that prioritizes animal welfare over profit alone. We need to be more discerning about where we source our animals from, asking questions and doing our research before making a purchase. It's about making informed choices and holding those in the industry accountable. It's about shifting the balance of power away from prioritizing profit at all costs and towards a system that values the well-being of these animals. It's a simple solution, but it requires collective action and a fundamental shift in our approach to animal agriculture.